As we went into the Budget Committee meeting yesterday, we were on tenterhooks, frankly, about how you would vote, whether you would vote for it or against it. You voted for it. Does that mean you're firmly committed to a yes come Thursday or Friday when the full bill goes before the Senate?
We still have work to do, but President Trump made a pretty good case, and we've been working with the administration and Senate Finance and Senate leadership, and we've been making some real progress. Bob Corker, I'm very sympathetic with his concerns about the deficit. He made some progress, so both Bob and I thought there was enough progress to be made to really use the committee process there to move this thing along in the right way so that we don't, so the amendments are going to be more germane to the process. So it was somewhat of a wonkish type of a vote yesterday, but I think it'll help make it an easier task in terms of passing this when all's said and done.
Yeah, well, wonkish it may be, but it's obviously going to affect a lot of people's lives. And so let's get into some of the wonkishness here. What will it take? What specific language will it take for you to be satisfied with the pass-through when it comes time to vote on an actual bill?
But let me first talk about the businesses I've been standing up and defending. In Wisconsin, we have so many manufacturers. Oftentimes, they're the primary employer in a relatively small community. It would devastate the community if that employer ran into trouble or went bankrupt. And so, these are the bedrock businesses. They're owner-operated. They're run by people who have a very long-term view, multi-generational. They want to pass on their kids and their grandkids. And they're competing against C-Corps. Now, let's face it, I have nothing against big business, but they're run by hired guns, short-term thinkers. You're looking at quarterly results, 5-year stock price when they cash out their stock dividends, completely different mentality. And so the problem in both the House and Senate bill is so much of the tax relief is directed toward those big C-Corps, which are only about 4% of American businesses, only represent about 55% of taxable income. They're getting somewhere between 70 and 85% of the tax benefit. It's simply not equitable. And the danger there is, by the way, it's imperative that we make all American businesses globally competitive, but in doing so, we need to make sure that we maintain that competitive balance of position between the pass-throughs and the C-Corps, and quite honestly, right now, neither the House or the Senate bill is doing that, but everybody acknowledges it's a problem. President Trump committed to me that he's going to fix it, going to make sure it gets fixed, and so that, again, gave me the confidence that I could let this proceed through committee.
Understood. It's important to lay all that out so people understand what the issue is, but let's get down to brass tacks here. Right now, there's a 17.4% deduction for the pass-through situation. Do you need it to go to 20 in order for you to support this bill?
I'm not going to say where we're going to get to. Here's the problem. Prior to Obamacare, the differential in the top marginal tax rate between pass-throughs and C-Corps was 4.6%. With Obamacare, it went to 8.4%. In the Senate bill, it's on average, about 16.5% differential. If you're a trust, it goes up to 23-24%. Now, the problem with that is, again, that makes those businesses less competitive against C-Corps. It makes them less competitive internationally because C-Corps get territorial treatment, pass-throughs don't. So there's so many aspects of this that are making pass-throughs less competitive, and a lot of my colleagues say that, well, have them turn to C-Corps. Well, that's certainly going to be an option. The problem with that is rather than being taxed at over 30%, now they'll be taxed at an effective rate of 18.5%, and the revenue loss to the federal government will be massive. So what I've been trying to argue to Senate leadership and Senate Finance and my colleagues is we're better off spending the money to bring down that rate, to close that differential that went up to 16%, closer to the 8.4%. And again, I'd like to get to 8.4. I'd like to actually honor the commitment of the framework of a 25% pass-through rate. We're constrained by the $1.5 trillion, so there's a lot of demands on those dollars. So I'm just working with Senate Finance. We're trying to be imaginative as possible, but I think we all realize we want to narrow that gap, get as close to 25% as possible, so we don't have that flood of pass-throughs convert to C-Corp, lose enormous amounts of revenue to the federal government, or let them stay in a very uncompetitive position compared to C-Corps.
So I just want to pin this down. As of now, you're not a yes, but you think that you're moving in that direction depending on what comes out. Is that fair?
Yeah, there's been some real progress made, particularly over the last couple of days. You start getting close to these deadlines, and it concentrates people's efforts. And again, I think it was huge that President Trump came to our Senate lunch yesterday. Gave the pep talk how important this was. First of all, for our economy. The American economy isn't even coming close to realizing its full potential. It needs a competitive tax system globally, and so we all realize we have to have pro-growth tax reform. Now we're in the legislative process, the sausage making. It's It's not pretty sometimes, but we're all committed to achieving success.
So finally, Senator, you mentioned the pro-growth desire of the Senate here to get this done. Let me talk about Senator Corker you referred to and the proposal he has. Could you explain to us why it would make sense to have a situation where you would be raising taxes if growth was disappointing? Normally, economists would say that's exactly the reverse way around.
Well, it is a concern. From my standpoint, this is one of the reasons I'm fighting for pass-throughs is they are an engine of innovation, of job creation, of economic growth. So if we actually craft a pro-growth tax package, we shouldn't even have to worry about his trigger. Hopefully the trigger will be designed, that it just slightly increases everybody's taxes a little bit across the board, doesn't really address or attack one sector of the economy, but just as a fallback in terms of added deficit. But no, I share your concern. The last thing you want to do if you hit hard times and recession is raise people's taxes.